All right, the chair moves that House File 2971 be recommended for re-referral to the Committee on Labor. Representative Cantrell, we have an author's amendment in our folders. So the chair moves the DE1 author's amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion prevails. Representative Cantrell, please present your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. It's a pleasure to join you today. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present House File 2971. This bill is aimed at building capacity in Minnesota's service infrastructure to help improve competitive and integrated employment outcomes for people with disabilities in the state of Minnesota. To do so, this bill directs the Departments of Education, DHS, and DEED to build on current collaborative efforts in 3 ways. The first way is that the bill directs the creation of a plan to improve competitive integrated employment outcomes for transition age youth, beginning at the age of 14, when many youth with disabilities and their families are beginning to take a look at what is going to come after high school and what are their lives going to look like in the community. And it is a critical time for ensuring that there's a structured plan in place so that all people have a, I think, consistent path forward to being able to transition into adulthood and to be able to live in our community in an integrated way. The second the second item that this bill addresses is that it directs the respective departments in consultation with stakeholders across the entire kind of array of folks who are involved in helping to determine our policy around inclusive and competitive integrated employment and other integrated options outside of traditional employment for people with disabilities, to come together to develop the plan that we've discussed to ensure that it is consistent with the reality and the varied experiences of people who have been and will be affected by any policymaking that is performed in this area. And then one of the most important parts, and something that is lacking now, is that the bill requires the submission of a report along with various data points across various states that have both phased out what can be known as the 14C waiver subminimum wage, as well as mandates a report after a period of time to assess the success with which folks with disabilities have been able to access integrated employment at a minimum or higher wage to ensure that we are making progress in this area of law and this area of what I view as civil rights in our society, of ensuring that everyone who wants to and is willing to work has that opportunity and is able to thrive. I'm not sure if this is included in the packet, but more than 15 advocacy organizations and service providers from across the state of Minnesota support this bill. And with that, Madam Chair and committee, I ask for your support to make sure that every Minnesotan is able to thrive and is able to access the full breadth of opportunities in our society afforded to everybody else. And I'd like to thank a couple members of the committee for signing on to this bill. Representative Freiberg and Representative New, thank you. I appreciate your support. And with that, I'll turn it over to my testifier, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Cantrell. So, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Madam Chair, members, my name is John Alexander. I am a board member of the ARC Minnesota, co-president of the Minnesota APSE, the Association of People Supporting Employment First, and in my day job, the CEO of Kaposia. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of House File 2971 today. Kaposia provides customized employment and retirement services to more than 300 people with disabilities as they build and advance their careers. At Kaposia, we partner with businesses of all sizes by helping them address workforce shortages, hire quality employees, build a more inclusive workforce, and ultimately be more profitable. We do this by matching and tailoring jobs that maximize the unique skills, interests, and abilities of the people we support that fit the needs of the businesses. Every day, people with disabilities demonstrate their abilities in the workforce and make livable wages that foster their independence. Unfortunately, not all individuals with disabilities, especially those with more significant support needs, people who live in greater Minnesota, people of color, have access to these tailored services that help achieve competitive integrated employment, as our current service infrastructure does not have the capacity to meet the demand. That's why we must build on current collaborative efforts between state agencies to expand access to and create incentives for these employment services. It's imperative that diverse stakeholders, including people with disabilities, their families, service providers, lead agencies, and business leaders, are at the table in this process. We have insights and capacity to lend innovative and creative ideas that will help move the system forward. Kaposia, Minnesota APSI, the ARC Minnesota, and many other advocacy organizations and service providers who support this bill are ready to work with the departments and leaders in the legislature, such as yourselves, to get this done. We must raise the expectations of and for people with disabilities, promote their informed decision-making, shift understanding of what's possible in their careers, and leverage their talents to contribute to Minnesota's workforce and economy. I'm joined today by Eric and his father. Eric is a self-advocate who can speak directly to the importance of House File 2971 by sharing his lived experience with building a career that he enjoys with help from job coaching supports.
Thank you so much. Good morning. Eric, introduce yourself for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Hello, please be a little patient. I am using an augmentative device to communicate with you. My name is Eric Marshall. I am 27 years old. I enjoy sports of all kinds. I like to cheer on all Minnesota teams. I like spending time with family and friends. I enjoy traveling as often as I can. I thought it would be easy to find a job. It is not so easy, and you really have to be persistent. I have also found that it can be hard to find a business to work with my schedule since I have such a busy life. Since I graduated, I have been busy. I found Ashland Productions Theater in Ark Valley Village as volunteer opportunities to build vocational skills while looking for paid jobs. I am now working at TCF Bank Stadium for Minnesota Gopher football games, and I work at the Marcus Movie Theater. I leverage many different job support services. Some are local supports from fellow employees, and other times I work with job coaches to assist me in more challenging aspects of my work life. Transportation can be a big issue for many disabled people. I use Metro Mobility when I can to get to work. It is important to work. I really like to earn money, interact with people, and give back to my community. It makes me feel proud to provide for my needs. Although it was a challenge to work with all the different agencies and providers to get a job, I was able to work through it. We visited over 100 businesses and approached the movie theater 7 different times before they were willing to take a chance on me. Fortunately for me, I have successfully found employment. I am sharing my story to help make sure other people with disabilities can find success as well. Don't be afraid. Get out there and go for it. It may take some time, but it is worth it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Eric. I really enjoyed your spirit, and you'll want to go for it. So thank you. So is there anyone else in the audience who would like to testify on House File 2971? Members, any questions? Representative Albright?
Thank you, Madam Chair. More of a technical nature for Representative Cantrell, but I notice a few just, changes with regard to the DE from the bill originally, with special notation to a couple of sections, and I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on them. I note that on page 2, you expand on points number 1 and number 2 under restructure and rebalance funding, as well as build capacity for increased demand. I'm just wondering what precipitated that change in the DE?
Representative Cantrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Albright. I only heard kind of the latter half of what you said. I apologize.
No, and let me just, in the original bill, as opposed to the DE, you've expanded some of the points with regard to restructuring and rebalance the funding, as well as building capacity for increased demand. And I'm just wondering, one, what precipitated that, and I'm just wondering if you could elaborate in terms of what your vision for those two sections would be.
Representative Cantrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Albright. So the changes that were made in the DE1 amendment were made in consultation with stakeholders, and based on their suggestions, we chose to change those sections. That's pretty much the feedback I have for you.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Cantrell, under reports on page 3, I do know a significant change between the original and the amendment where you're going from data regarding individuals and going to summary. I'm just wanting to know if, from a data privacy perspective, is that disaggregated data, or what type of data are you looking to collect and for what purposes?
Representative Cantrell.
Madam Chair, Representative Albright, we're looking to collect data that will help us to actually measure so that we can improve the quality of our integrated deployment approaches in the state of Minnesota. And as you and I now serve on judiciary together, I'm sure that we may have the opportunity to discuss that in greater length in the future.
Representative Albright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an exhaustive approach. I don't diminish the import, but this is an enormous undertaking, and I'm just wondering, you have already identified you're pushing out the effective date for the reports from 2020 to into August of 21. Is that in total that you're hoping to provide a report, or is it in some form or a section of this, rolling it out in pieces? This is just an enormous undertaking as I look at it, and I'm just wondering if we aren't not setting up for failure, but setting up for confusion based upon everything that you're looking to accomplish in this bill.
Representative Cantrell.
Madam Chair, Representative Albright, I do appreciate the concern, and I don't disagree that it is an enormous undertaking. But I would like to iterate that this has been constructed with the input of involved stakeholders, and if they feel they're up to the task, then I think it's our responsibility to push ourselves, despite the enormity of the undertaking, to ensure that the folks with disabilities aren't being left behind in our society. But I do appreciate the concern.
Chair Liebling.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first of all, I think this is a great effort and opportunity. And, there is a lot of, struggle, I would say, in the disability world between, what we, I guess, call the sheltered workshop approach, and then can people be in competitive employment? And, I think there's a real need to help people with disabilities expand their greatest and do work at the top of their game. And I really appreciate the young man here giving us his story on that. I especially like the idea that we're starting, this is for ages 14 to 24. I recently had a visit from someone in the disability community who was talking to me about the fact that young people with disabilities really don't hear about what options they may have when they're young. And one of the factors of having a disability may just be that you need a longer preparation period to be able to get out into the world and have that competitive employment. So I think that's good. I would even say we should probably even go younger to help people understand that they have potential and to start to really develop toward being able to be in a competitive employment situation. So I really like this idea and approach quite a bit. I'm not sure, it does say that the agency's commissioner shall develop and implement a plan. So I'm kind of, is this going to finance? It will be going to finance. Okay, because, obviously, developing is one thing, and implementing the plan, we need to think about what kind of resources that's going to take. But we just heard from folks about workforce shortages. And this is a refrain that we are hearing in every single sector. So there should be, it's an opportunity to get more people with disabilities into the workforce and have them have more fulfilling and have the pride of being able to support themselves and give back and all the things that Eric, right? All the things that he talked about. So thank you for bringing this, Representative Cantrell.
Thank you, Chair Liebling.
Representative Edelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Cottrell. Thank you for bringing this bill. My family, we're big supporters of Gigi's Playhouse, working with persons with Down syndrome. And at one of our fundraisers, a young woman who's 18 that has Down syndrome said, "Don't limit me." And that just made me think of this right now. So Eric, thank you for your testimony. Thank you for your optimism. You're advocating for so many. So I know there's many organizations that are working to, Mr. Alexander, it sounds like your organization's one of them. Will there be partnerships with DHS, with these organizations to help empower them? And then also, will there be more than one report? Because I think in 2021 there's a report, but is there going to be one to make sure that we're having accountability? And that, a lot of businesses are trying to do this, but I do remember hearing like a year ago that they're not meeting the standards that they set. So I just want to see more accountability on it.
Representative Cantrell.
Madam Chair, Representative Edelson, thank you for your question. If I understand the first part of your question correctly, you're asking if the stakeholders in these organizations are going to work together with the departments, with the commissioners, and that is correct. Yep, absolutely, because we believe that we do need an all-hands-on-deck approach to including, which means everybody, which means it means employers, it means folks with disabilities, it means making sure everybody has a seat at the table so that we can have the most comprehensive and well-thought-out plan moving forward. And then your second question is, will there be multiple reports? And so in consultation with stakeholders, this is something that we're discussing, and it's an ongoing conversation about subsequent reports, and I think that there is likely an appetite for that, and so that is definitely something that's on the table, I think.
Thank you. Representative Keel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wondered, I've got a group in my county called DAC, Disabled. We always call it DAC, an activity center. There we go. Day Activity Center. So, and they provide jobs for people and work within whatever their abilities are. And I'm just wondering, are they a part of this process, or is that entirely different from? I know they have people go to work, and there was some concern about funding and not being able to continue their grouping that they do up and down the valley.
Representative Cantrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Keel, I don't mean to sound glib. I've not been in touch with that exact facility in your district. But rest assured that there is broad kind of consensus support for this among the industry. I believe that you described a day program of sorts in your community. So we do have folks like Rise who are on board with this. We have folks who who provide these services who are at the table. So I think that you can, in good confidence, go back to the facility, what do you say, the DAC?
Day activities. Center.
DAC, yeah, the Day Activity Center, and tell them in good faith that, hey, you know, we're trying to have a comprehensive, well-thought-out approach. So and if they themselves want to come to the table, I'm sure that is amenable.
Representative Keel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'll do some checking. I believe there were some concerns. So, and we're going to hear this in finance, right? Health and Human Services Finance. So I'll do some checking.
Okay, so there being no further discussion, the chair renews her motion that House File 2971 as amended be recommended for re-referral to the Committee on Labor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion prevails and House File 2971 as amended is recommended for re-referral to the Committee on Labor. Thank you.